Tampa Bay Spirits presents Haunted Campfire Tales Live. Welcome. Gather around the fire. Get comfortable, but not too comfortable. The true ghost tales are about to unfold.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan.
I'm Les.
I'm Beth.
I'm Robin.
I'm Jess.
Jen.
Oh,
All
every
right.
time. I feel like I mess it up every time.
We almost got there. We were so close.
Okay, start with Jess. Go ahead, Jess.
I'm Jess.
You missed your cue.
Steve.
Steve, how you doing?
And I'm Jen again.
Now, Robin? Yeah.
Marjorie Deering says, hi, gang.
Hi, Marjorie.
Hi, Marjorie. Welcome to the zoo.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Jen and Steve went with our team the last time that we went to Maystringer, which was recently. And
May 10th.
May 10th, yep. And I know we were supposed to have one of our clients on tonight, but unfortunately he had to cancel. So instead, you're going to hear all about the Maystringer thing, the Maystringer investigation, and get Jen and Steve's perspective.
Yeah.
And see what they think.
Steve will tell you, don't get me started.
Yeah.
It was a really good investigation, I think.
Yes, it was.
There was a 44-minute Estes session with just listening to Gary, our good friend Gary.
It was amazing.
It was so amazing.
Gary,
it was really amazing.
The entertainer.
Oh, I know. I just love him. It's so weird to say I love a dead person, but he's hilarious. And at one point I had said, I think that he was a singer, dancer, and an actor. Here's Paul Hollis says, hi,
Paul.
fellow spookies. Hi, Paul. And
Spookies.
And Jen said, I think he was a vaudeville entertainer. And I said, I think so too. That's definitely the impression I get. Then we spoke to the docents after we had done the investigation, and they said to us, we think Gary was a vaudeville entertainer. And we went, what?
What?
That was so crazy. We were like, oh, we think so too.
For those of you who don't know, Maystringer is a house up in Brooksville, Florida. It's converted into a museum at this point and is open for investigations, public and private. And we go there, well, once a year. Now this year we're going twice. So we're getting to know the spirits of the place. So, and we're having new things happen every time we go. So it's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah. More to the point, I think the spirits are getting to know us very well. And
Right.
At
least they don't go running away. So.
They're super comfortable around us now.
And we had at least 2 new spirits that introduced themselves to us.
Right.
That's
Right. That's true.
And you want to share who that was and the significance of that, Beth?
I believe the first one that we encountered was Frank Saxon. And he spoke with us for a little while, and he was a former owner of the home. And I forget some of the history. Jess, do you remember some of that history?
Oh, man. I can't remember who built it. There was
The
Jen?
maze.
Jen remembers.
Jen. Do you remember?
I do, because I did a lot of research when we were going in advance. So the house was originally built by John May, but he died 3 years after it was completed, and I believe that was in 1862. His wife then remarried, and she remarried Frank Saxon, and he built on the second portion of the house. So the sort of the military room area and the side of the house away from the dining room. So
Stairwell.
yes, yeah, absolutely. And so he I believe, I want to say that was 1876. When well, it was 1876 when Jessie May was born, but we'll talk more about that later. But so it was in the early 1870s when he became the owner of the home. And there's another house of his right up the street, that's Saxon House, and that's just up the street. It's another museum. So
Yeah.
So, and the other spirit we encountered was that's new to us was little Jessie May, and that was Frank's daughter. And Jessie May died when she was just 3 years old. And although we've tried to, welcome her to talk to us, we've never had an opportunity to talk to her. So it was very exciting to hear from her. It's unclear how she had passed away, but a lot of speculation and a lot of people who are sensitive believe that she either fell or was pushed from the second floor balcony or stairs. And there's, that's not clear either. But it was really nice getting to meet little Jessie May.
It was, because we've seen her before and felt her presence, but she's never interacted with us before. So I think she finally felt comfortable enough to speak with us. The same with her. Well, we should say that Mr. Saxon was her dad. So that was, we interacted with him for quite a while, and then I think she felt able to then interact with us, which was really special. But it also made us cry. And Kathy, who's a member of our team, she also is Beth's sister, felt her come up behind her and give her a big hug around her neck. So that made me cry. Yeah, it was so sad. It was really,
that was a very emotional session for sure.
Yeah.
it was. Well, actually, Jen has her own podcast, her own spooky podcast.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
it's partly spooky. Yeah.
what is it? Spooky and
It's called the Unfreaking Believable podcast. So yeah, I have two other author friends, and the three of us interview people. We bring them on to talk about moments that were sort of important turning points in their lives, and sometimes those are spooky stories. So sometimes they are supernatural events or miracles, or we've had a couple of near-death experiences, those kinds of things. So I would say probably a little more than half the time we get a good spooky story out of it.
Well, she got a good spooky story because she filmed when we were talking to Jesse's dad.
I did.
Yeah. And I don't know if you probably started filming after it turned the flashlight turned on, but I had put a flashlight onto something. I don't even remember what I put it onto.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking, and we were actually trying to get Gary to talk to us, and he wasn't saying anything. And all of a sudden, the flashlight turned on, but I didn't realize that it turned on. I just realized that I was looking straight across it, actually at Jen and Kathy, and I could see them. It was light all of a sudden, and I was like, huh. And then I turned and I saw the flashlight was on, and I said, "Oh, hi." So then we started conversing with him, but we can we can play this. This is a 10-minute video.
It's the world premiere. World premiere.
Yes.
Yeah, so you
So-
get to go on the investigation with us here.
Go ahead. Somebody was going to say something.
I was just gonna say, should we set up what exactly is happening here? Or Jen, do you want to
Sure.
talk about like what you
So
put together?
basically, the video kind of explains it at the beginning. There's a little
Oh,
intro, but it just, this is a flashlight session, and the actual flashlight session went on for about an hour, I would say. So I edited out sort of the lag time and the wait time, not between the time we asked a question and the time they answered, because I think it's very important to document the amount of time those
Yeah, it takes
responses
them.
take, because it's remarkably similar every single time, and I think that's important.
Mhm.
So like if we were having a chat in between questions or things
Mhm.
like that, I edited that out, so I got it down to 10 minutes so that it's a nice nibble for people to watch.
Which there's never any superfluous talking going on when we're on.
No.
No, we're very professional and serious at all times.
Amanda Smith says, hello,
Hi,
Robbie
Amanda.
Joan. Hi. We're glad that you're here. I hope you heard all that, Amanda. We're going to show a video that Jen took at the last investigation we were on. She and Steve had come and joined our team to do an investigation of the May Stringer Museum. And this is a flashlight session. And she filmed it for her podcast. And so we'll share that with you now.
Okay, we'll give this a shot. For those of you that aren't watching or just listening, hopefully you'll be able to enjoy this as well.
Yeah, because it shows the flashlights
Right.
being turned on and
But
off by
you
an
should be able
unseen
to,
hand.
you should be able to tell from our reactions what's going on.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's give it a shot, guys. Jen, can you hit play? How about your, okay, that's not working.
It worked before. There you go.
The May Stringer House is reputed to be one of the most actively haunted houses in Florida. On May 10, 2025, Unfreaking Believable podcast co-host J.B. Kane attended an investigation with the Tampa Bay Spirits Paranormal Research Group. This is video of the flashlight session with one of the house's known spirit residents. Paranormal researchers often use flashlights that twist on to have conversations with spirits. The twist mechanism is loosened, and then spirits are encouraged to nudge the twisty part to turn the flashlight on and off in response to yes and no questions. This is raw footage from a flashlight session that lasted for about an hour. The only editing to this footage is that I've only included questions and responses, not conversation from the participants or quiet wait time. I have also obscured the faces of participants, as I did not have their signed permission to include them in my video.
Yes. Good. And I just saw a sparkle light back in the back. Excellent. Behind Steve, in between Steve and Glenn. Excellent. You sparkle.
Let me turn it up.
No.
Turn off the light. Flashlight again, please. Right when you flash it. So this is the person who wanted us to come up here. If you do not remember us from before, will you turn on the flashlight? Please. Oh, okay. So this is someone new. Yeah, glad to meet you. Could you please turn off the flashlight so we can ask you another question? Thank you.
Did you live in this house? Can you turn on the flashlight for yes?
You did? Well, thank you for allowing us to come into your home.
It's a beautiful home.
It is a very beautiful home.
you turn off the flashlight again, please? Hello.
So that must be somebody else.
There.
So the male that is here with us, are you the person who lived in this home? If you are, you can either make the run pod beep or you can turn on the flashlight again, your choice. So yes, good job. So we're speaking with the male who did live in this home. You can turn off the flashlight now. I'll ask you another question. I know it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. I appreciate you. You're doing a good job. Thank you.
Are you Frank Saxon?
Yes.
Thank you, Frank. Or Mr. Saxon. I don't mean to be disrespectful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Now, don't you feel good?
Did someone do that? Yeah. Oh. Okay, you can turn that off. No. Please. Thank you.
Do you recognize spirits from time periods different than yours? Okay,
Yes.
good. Thank you. It's a very deep question. So thank you.
Turn that off. You're interested in all those things.
Jesse may fall accidentally. Could you turn the flashlight on if she fell accidentally? Did someone push Jesse May? Thank you.
We knew this, though. We did know this.
We've never asked them.
We've never asked, but we sense that. Thank you for confirming. We're very sorry about that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I have a question. Is she here? I don't mean right in this room at this moment.
Oh,
Okay. She is.
yeah. Mhm. Do you feel that someone was at fault because they left her unattended? I heard that really loud a minute ago.
Thank you. Did you turn off the flashlight?
That's making me super emotional.
No, it's pretty bad. But Jessie is here. Because I think she's the one that left the couple. Yeah.
Oh.
Hi, Joe.
Good job.
Meanwhile, Joe walked in. Hi, everyone. Late but here. We're glad you're here. You just
Hi,
in
Joe.
time for another flashlight session, Joe. And Amanda
was-
Smith said she's a friend of Paul Rushworth Brown,
Who's watching this morning from
Australia.
Australia.
Paul Hollis said, fascinating. All of my flashlights here at home were turning on and off with your questions, Joe.
Whoa, how did that happen, Paul?
Paul. That was really rough watching it again.
That was cool, though. Good job, Jen.
cool.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't catch every single question and answer, but I think I caught enough to show that. It was so much more than you even see on a lot of the like the paranormal investigation shows. So much more active
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
anything I've ever seen on one of those shows. I've never seen literally like 7 to 10 questions and answers in basically rapid succession.
Yes, yes.
And
in
with
the interest,
Balls and everything. Like, that was
Oh.
so cool.
yeah, we had REM pods going off, cat balls being lit up, and flashlights going on and off at the same time. It was quite active, but the interesting thing, I think, is that Frank had never talked to us before. And we've been there frequently. And it was really, and he's Jessie Mae's dad.
Mhm.
Just, and he's the one that answered the question about what happened to her.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think we absolutely wore him out because
Yeah.
shortly after the closing scene there with the cat ball, he literally just went silent and said nothing. And then, we commented on how quiet Gary had been through the entire time. And then as soon as we said that, all of a sudden things just started going bonkers again. So
Yeah, Gary went
in a very different tone, right?
Oh yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Which is so wild.
Yes.
It's a very different tone and vibe.
Mhm.
It's it's a great place to go. Highly recommend it. It's so fun, and the people there are really lovely, and it's just a beautiful home. So very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It's so Frank was very he like Joe, you missed the beginning. He answered questions for about an hour. That was an hour-long session. And so there was a reason why he was tired. And like I said, he'd never interacted with us before, but he was very sedate and serious, and you could feel that.
Very
Course,
heavy.
it was so heavy, but then he was going to talk about his daughter's death. And the docents afterwards asked us if we, what had happened, and we were telling them about the session with Mr. Saxon, Frank Saxon, and what he had to say about Jessie and her death. And they were like, oh my gosh, you have no idea. We've been doing research, and that dovetails exactly with all of our research. So thank you so much. So that was awesome too, that we were able to help them, because now they're pretty sure about how she passed, which we didn't show all of that on this either, but we think it was probably a sibling pushed her accidentally, killed her.
And would that be why you think he said that it happened, because she wasn't being watched, attended to? Yeah.
I think that's what he believes. Yes.
Right.
He wouldn't tell us who it was. And so we think it was probably one of the other children, and he didn't want to,
Yeah.
that child go down as a murderer or killer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was rough.
And I mean, in the room, there was a tremendous sense of heaviness and sadness. I mean, you could definitely feel his mood, especially when the conversation turned to talking about that. I mean, he was serious before that, but when it turned, I mean, there was definitely a change in the atmosphere of the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, Marjorie.
And still in mourning, I think. He's obviously, they're still together, but I think he was in mourning over her life cut short. That's really what it felt like.
Yeah. How did you feel,
Seth?
Steve?
Sorry.
That's okay. I was just wondering how Steve felt through that session.
I was just overwhelmed with the responses. So I went with you earlier this year. Last year we went there, and we had so much activity. One of the things I was just impressed with was the way the flashlight turned on and off by itself. I actually still have about another hour's worth of videos, like 2 and 3 minute sessions that I recorded. But some of the videos that I captured were focusing on the actual flashlight. You can hear the questions in the background, but I'm focusing on all aspects of the flashlight. And you can see there's nobody around that flashlight. It comes on and goes off by itself. Answer our questions. And that's still, I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about it.
Yeah.
Still, it was impressive, very impressive. I've never seen anything quite like that.
No, and he obviously wanted to talk. I mean, he had something to say, and it was going to get said. So much so that Gary kept quiet. So,
which is hard to keep Gary quiet. That's his room. The attic is his room.
Well, he had to have the last word.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He definitely got his propers for sure.
Oh yeah.
I felt that was a sign of respect.
Respect, yeah.
Definitely.
Like he was like, he wants to talk. I'm going to give him some time, right?
Yes. And then he would perform for us, which he did.
Whoa, did he ever. Robin, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say how sad it is that he's still carrying that pain.
Yeah.
He doesn't get relief, even though he's not in the world as we know it. He's still suffering.
I
I will
know.
say though, after he said that to us, we all commented on how once that was out in the world and it had been, there was such a lightening to the room. It's just like just speaking it, sort of, it's kind of like when you talk about a problem, it eases the problem a little bit. I think we all felt that in the room right after
Oh, good.
that was out there. So if
There
we
was
helped
a
a little,
real,
that's good.
it was a real release. You could feel a release. It was like, you know. So, and that's why the docents were so excited, because we got those answers. I mean, people have been asking those answers for years,
Yes.
and including us. And we've never gotten those answers before. And to get those answers, I think it was a big deal for him to finally be able to say it and
Yeah,
get it
we've
out there.
never asked that before, and Kathy was like, "I want to. There's something I want to ask. You know, that I've wanted to ask."
2 kitty cats just came in the door behind you.
I know.
Time to eat.
Mommy.
Yeah, it's food time.
We've never asked how did she die before. That's true.
Mhm.
We've asked to speak with her and
Yeah.
asked if she was okay and stuff like that, but we never did say how did she die.
Hmm.
And Kathy asked that, so I'm glad that she did, because I do think that was very helpful to him to be able to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we've shown you the cat balls that lit up before, and we had them light up again when we were not there. Here, we'll show them again. Yeah. They go off all by themselves. See that trunk behind the cat ball? We believe that's Gary's trunk.
So what happened after we were done up there, we all went downstairs. Now, what we do is we leave 2 static cameras running while we're not up there, and we leave the a couple of cat balls on the floor. I think we had 3 on the floor, and a laser light, and the REM pod, and we had that all running, and we're only going through the attic camera, and the only thing we found on there was one of the cat balls. Just all of a sudden, just part of it lit up. Just one little flash on one side of it. It wasn't the whole cat ball like you just saw. The whole thing was lit up and circling around. The lights were. Well, that happened, and then 30 seconds later, another flash, like somebody was just like trying to touch it and just barely did it. And then 30 seconds later, about it did a full thing, just like you just saw uh, on that film. So, not sure what was going on there. Maybe Jesse was up there playing. And then, but about 9 minutes later, I guess the REM pod went off, and our Jess went up there to check that out. And
Yeah. The cat balls went off, and we have the static cam set up, and then we have someone watching the cameras to let us know if they see something.
right,
You see something, say something. And they
always good policy.
right. And they let us know. And so another team member and I went up there. We heard the REM pod going off. But yeah, we went up and checked it out. Once we got up there, everything was all quiet. We weren't getting any responses or anything. So I don't know, but it was interesting. And while I was setting up, actually, we were putting all our cameras up, and I went up into the attic by myself. And I was setting up the cameras. I went back downstairs to get something, came back up to the attic, and I realized I needed to turn off the light because they're IR cameras, because otherwise you can't see very well. So when I turned off the light, I was standing in the doorway of the attic because the light switches are just to the right when you walk in. And behind me, there's like a landing, and there are artifacts from like some indigenous people from the area and different things up there because it is a museum. So there's a couple of cases of items and things like that up there. And when I turned off the light, there was a like, I can't even explain the sound, but like a whoosh, like, or like a, I can't even, like, kind of like almost like a reverse pop. I don't know how to say it. Like
Like
yeah.
something being sucked out of the room instead of.
Yeah, kind of like, and like a little crack. And it startled me, so I like turned around, and then there was nobody there. And so I was like, hello, I was like, I'm just setting things up, and then later, I said, please don't just like make sounds behind me when I'm by myself. Like, it startles me, and I don't like, I don't want to be startled on a staircase, please. Like, it's cool. Like, we're here to talk to you. And then I had set up the REM pod. I was like, if you want us to come up and talk, like, set that off and we will know, and we will come to you and we will talk if you want that, and that was not too much longer after that the REM pod went off. It was going crazy though. And so we all did go upstairs and that's when the session started with the flashlight and all that stuff. And I think at one point I asked during that session, are you the person that made the sound behind me when I was turning off the light? And it said yes. It lit up for yes. So that was cool too. Nobody else was around, so nobody else can like corroborate that, but that was a personal experience that I had. So, and it was cool.
Also, right behind you is the place where the person died.
The portcullis.
James.
James.
Yeah, James.
Hear from James this time at all. Right. Joe Conchel said, playing catch up here, what do you think changed between before and this time? What spurred him to answer this time? Different questions. Well, he had never interacted with us before, Joe. This was the first time that he'd ever interacted with us. And I think maybe, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I think maybe at this point, we've been there so frequently that more of the spirits are feeling more comfortable with us, unlike Gary, who was very happy to be on the star of the show when we were there. And from the way that session went, I think he was just at a point where he wanted to get that off his chest, because really he's he knows those two docents, and they ask questions all the time, and they've never gotten answers. And so I think it was just he needed to. And it was a different question. What spurred him to answer this time, Joe said different questions, and Kathy straight up asked, how did she die? And probably we've all danced around that. And everyone else.
She asked, do you know how she died?
Yep.
That's what she started with, right?
Yep.
And interestingly, I don't know if this had anything to do with it, but at one point, and I didn't catch this in my video, but part of the chatter between us, and I want to say, I think she's the one that said it, is that there were a bunch of moms in the room. So it could have just been, the right audience for him to want to tell his story and get that out there, with a group of people who would be understanding and sympathetic and could feel what that pain would be like,
And then we did all cry. So I hope he was.
Are you happy now?
Yeah. Marjorie Deering said, do you suppose that at some point the 3-year-old might give you the answer about her death on her own? Gosh.
That's a very good question.
I'm not sure she'd even know.
That's what I was just going to say.
Not.
I hope she doesn't know. I hope it was fast and painless and.
I had someone tell me in spirit, someone tell me what had happened to her on my very first visit.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it was not her, and I don't think she knows. But someone else wanted that story to be told.
I wanted to point out, you, Beth, said that to us a long time ago, that you felt that about her death not being an accident and that maybe something like that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And from when you thought that. And what I thought was interesting was some of the questions Jen, who we only met, well, I had only met, Beth had only met the night of the investigation. You were asking questions that felt like you were maybe picking up on that as well before anyone else was saying that to you. And I just, it was really interesting. And then when we talked to the docents and they also had felt, they had thoughts about that as well. It's very interesting, but that's
And
multiple
just
people.
To kind of even springboard off of that, when I had been there, because I had gone in September and did just the regular ghost tour with a friend of mine, and I didn't sense Jesse at all when I was there the last time. It was a completely different vibe to the house when I was there the time before, but I kind of got a sense of certain things. And at the time, I remember thinking to myself, because like I said, I had no sense of Jesse other than, what the docents told us about the dolls and that sort of thing. But I had made the assumption at that time that she had died of some kind of illness that they couldn't quite identify. But when we were doing the investigation, and again, nobody had talked to me about any of this because I didn't know anybody but Steve, and I had met Joan and Rob for about 5 minutes in Tarpon Springs. So like we had certainly never, we had never talked about it. But as I was asking the questions, I got a very strong sense of what you were saying, that it was a sense of Frank feeling that somebody had been negligent and that it had been, like you said, maybe deliberate, but not really deliberate on purpose, like not understanding the ramifications.
The consequence.
Right.
The consequence of pushing another child.
Right.
I know that when I went the first time, I was told she was pushed. She was pushed. Now, I had always thought it had been on the balcony area, but someone this past, and it might have been you, Jen, had talked about the back stairs. And I was like, okay, that is very, very possible that it was that. I could just see in my mind's eye her being pushed, and I heard that. But I am considering it may have been the stairs and one of the stepsisters. But out of not realizing how serious that would have been. Not like I'm going to push her and try to get rid of her, more like she's aggravating me. She's just a little kid kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely accidental, but also on purpose.
Right.
So,
and that's why I think, and this was even in the session, and, that Frank doesn't blame the person who pushed. He blames the person who was supposed to be watching them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep.
And what they could have done to the family is just
the family dynamic.
Yeah, the whole family dynamic had to change.
And how the kid who pushed her had to live with that for their whole life.
Right.
And we haven't heard from that person ever. So and nobody's ever reported whether she's there or he's there, but I think it's a she. And Beth, I think that that first time that you went there, when you told us about it, you felt like it was negligent, that someone wasn't watching the children that should have been, and that's how it happened. That's what you had said that first night.
because the other girls were young also. They were older than Jessie May, but they were still little girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because Jessie May was only 3 when she died. Yeah. And she's still there. And we think it is her that's playing with the cat balls because she definitely lit them up when we asked that question. As you saw in that video, she lit
twice.
Them. Yeah. So I think she likes playing with those. So that's good.
And just before we got a lot of contact, I saw behind Steve and Les a green sparkly light. And I have to wonder if that might have been her too, manifesting. And I've never seen that green sparkly light there or anywhere else, but it was very bright and it was almost not like on and off, but it was like glittery. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like a sparkler.
Yeah.
That's what you said that night.
Remember you saying that. Yeah.
I didn't see anything. But that's really cool. That could have been her.
I wish we could have got that on camera, but
yeah.
Me too. Because we saw, remember we told you we saw those sparkles at the hanging tree in Gettysburg.
Yeah.
After we had talked to the mom and the children, and we just saw those glittery sparkles all over the place out of nowhere. But
I have a question because I've only ever been on a few ghost hunts, and there was one thing that I observed when I was driving up there. There was a lot of thunderstorms, a lot of lightning in the sky, and I wonder if the weather has something to do with, like, there's so much electricity in the air that if it doesn't affect the spirits and if it doesn't help bring them out, because there was just much activity.
Yep. It's easier for them to communicate.
They need that energy to communicate, to manifest. And so that lightning storms really seem to be conducive for that. We were excited about that. We were having dinner and we were excited.
We were going, this is great. And then when it stopped, when we got there, we went, oh.
I also had a question too. I mean, there was a lot of you, Joan, Beth. I think you guys are docents yourself, and you are in touch with the spirit world. But adding Jen into the mix, I mean, there was just one more in the house. I believe Jessie feels things as well. Because there were so many of you there, could that have helped pull out the spirits even more?
I think so.
I think that's why our team in particular gets a lot of activity, because we have so many sensitives. We have, a lot of us are sensitive on that team. So, and Jen is sensitive too. So she just added to the mix. So yeah, Kathy's a sensitive. Beth's a sensitive. Q is a sensitive. She wasn't there that night. Jess is sensitive. I mean, we have a lot of sensitives on the team. So when we were in Gettysburg and
Robin.
Robin wasn't there, but Robin is a sensitive. And Joy is a sensitive. When we were in Gettysburg and Robin and Joy were there, Les is a sensitive.
He gets his feelings hurt really easy.
I'm sensitive, yes.
When we were in Gettysburg at the Jenny Wade house at the end of the night, and that was crazy. I've never seen that much activity in my life, and it was nuts. Everything was going off upstairs, downstairs, every piece of equipment, and it was hard.
Nonstop.
It was. It was like,
it was crackling.
The next night with the same equipment.
Yeah.
Same people.
Different results. Yep.
Almost nothing. It was very little activity. I mean, we had some, and it was good, the activity we did have, but Totally different.
Different.
But the docent that night before he left, or we left because he had to stay and lock up, of course, said to us, you have some pretty powerful people on your team, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
And Beth was ready to say, oh, and I said, yes, we do. Which
But he
isn't-
said what you said, Steve. He was like, well, I think like that possibly spirits can sense that, and so they're attracted to that energy, or like that. Oh, it makes me think of like, oh, maybe we're like a little bit like a lighthouse or a beacon, where it's like, hey, you know, I can see you, or I can feel you, I can sense you, I can communicate with this one and they will hear me, you know, like there's maybe something about, I don't know, our energy or something.
It's like they don't have to be afraid
Mm.
to interact with you.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, and this goes along with the storm as well. You know, there's so much documentation of spirits utilizing electrical fields and that sort of thing. And I think that, I mean, I think the paranormal is just science we don't understand, right? So,
right.
Agreed.
I think that the electrical field that people who are sensitive can perceive and can manipulate and can give off acts like a battery sometimes to spirits. So I know that I joked with, I can't remember if it was you, Beth, or if it was Kathy, but I joked about bringing my pocket rocks with me. So I had some quartz and stuff with me to kind of try to amp things up, you know, to make it more conducive or whatever to, you know, direct energy. And I feel like there was definitely a sense of all of us were feeding our energy into wanting this to be a successful night and wanting to hear what the let's just say unseen residents had to say. And so I think that intention creates a battery for them to feed off of if they choose.
Mm-hmm.
Marjorie says, do you think there's any significance to the color of the sparkly lights you witness at times? Do you think so, Beth? Do you think green was significant?
I don't know. I think that's a really great question. And I have seen different colors of lights before. But I think one time in St. Augustine, I did see a green light, but it wasn't that sparkly type of a light. But yeah, I wonder if there is a significance.
Yeah, I don't know. The lights we saw were white.
Yeah, I've seen white many, many times, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what I was going to say about that docent, though, he said that when there are that many powerful people in the house, that it's like a party to them. They come out to play.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's certainly what Gary said to Jesse.
That's, yeah.
That's true.
Like a party. I think, is that what I said? Like a party?
Yeah, he said it was a party.
It was like a party.
I don't know what you guys were saying at that time, but I remember saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys remember what you were asking or talking about?
We were talking, I believe we were talking about that we were friends, that we had, you know, we've talked to him before.
And did he like all these people coming to see him and coming to chat with him specifically? And then you came back with, it's like a party.
Also, we've been asking how many people that there were in there besides the living people.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we've been asking that question.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to answer.
Yeah, they said it was a rude question.
Rude. Oh, rude.
It's like, can't you tell? We're all right here.
Yeah, I know. It's like you can't see us or something. We can't.
My cat is, speaking of cats, wreaking havoc. She is being a beast right now. Like, she's gonna break things.
You disappeared for a while there. The camera got knocked.
She hit my camera, and now she's gonna like
knock over the helmet.
Yeah, jump on me. So
You're going to put the helmet on there for a second.
no, I'm just trying to rescue it. I'm waiting for her to jump on me. So anyway,
so Steve, do the experiences that you've had with Tampa Bay Spirits, do you think that's going to affect how you write your next book?
Oh, definitely. There's already things that I've been thinking about to add in there, making it more realistic than just, fictional and making things up in my head. Definitely will help a lot. That's really one of the things that motivated me to come along and join you guys when you asked me to attend. The first time that I showed up, it really wasn't a lot of activity, but this last time, like I said, it was just amazing, honestly. And I think a lot of it had to do with the electricity in the air, with the people that were there. Even I didn't know. I mean, you call them sensitives. That's another word I'll be using most likely in some of my stories.
It comes from clairsentience. That's where that comes from. Clairsentience are people that are sensitive to energy and can feel energy around them, and are empaths.
That's just fascinating stuff. But yes, you'll definitely see a little bit of difference in my writing style, even though I still may have a ghost appear to talk with him in person.
Well, some people do perceive things that way.
Yeah.
That's a little more rare, but it's not unheard of.
No, we've seen ghosts.
I wouldn't be mad if one decided to appear that way and talk to us on an investigation. I'd be
and talk in complete sentences.
Yeah.
That's great.
That'd be amazing.
Oh, wouldn't it be great?
Instead of just sending random phrases and pictures into your head.
Yeah.
Right.
Images are so hard to decipher sometimes.
I know.
That's why the Estes method is so good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because you do get complete sentences and stuff.
I enjoyed watching Jesse's session so much. Like, that was so much fun for me to watch. And again, nothing on TV has ever even come close to, and I've seen Estes methods on television before. I've never seen anything like what happened that night. Ever.
Yeah. Gary's hilarious. He really is. Did he make her sing opera that night too?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Made her speak Spanish a little.
Joe Conjal said, you guys saw one in Gettysburg. What, you mean the picture that we took?
Yeah.
Of the soldier?
Yeah, Rob showed me that photo. Yeah.
Yeah, we did not see that guy. We only saw the picture.
We just took
He saw you.
He did see us.
He did.
While he was sitting there having a cigarette.
Well, and to go back to some of our methods and especially the Estes method, there are nights that we go and we're not picking up anything.
We just
we're
sit
not
there.
getting a lot of conversation. The flashlight doesn't go off. There are times that does happen. It would be nice if if we got some information every time we go, but it just doesn't happen that way usually. This is not the norm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
It's definitely an exception.
Which always makes it I know we've said this before, but I always appreciate those times where it's the same group of people or the same equipment and we're doing the same thing and we are not getting anything because it, in a way, for me, validates the experiences that we have other times where there's lots of stuff going on and lots of information coming through. And so I always have like an appreciation for those times. Like, okay, yeah, like this is not just like, I'm not having malfunctioning equipment here or something, it's like,
yeah.
Right.
Well, your session, that 44-minute session that Joan talked about, that was from you said you have no idea what we said, Jesse, but I mean, the alignment of the questions to the responses almost universally, I would say solidly 80% were clearly a direct response to what we had said.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was the alignment was shocking. And I think of that even the same night you were talking about contrast, because y'all were gracious enough to let me try doing the Estes method down in the doctor's office downstairs. And again, I have no idea what was said outside of those headphones.
Yes.
I know there were people talking, but I couldn't understand anything they said. But it showed me, number one, what a skill it is to be able to interpret the voices in the spirit box.
Yeah, because you're hearing lots.
Yeah, you're hearing so much, and like figuring out which ones you should be zeroing in on is one thing. But the other thing that I thought was interesting, and Beth, maybe because I know you were in the room when I was doing that, maybe you can back me up on this. I felt like Jessie, what she was hearing was an active, intelligent haunting, obviously, with Gary responding to things. I felt like what I was getting was residual. Like
That's interesting.
It felt different. But again, I don't know if it had anything to do with what people were asking, but I felt like it didn't.
Yeah, I actually wasn't in the room with you. I was in the lobby at that point. But what was interesting is that I was also getting answers. I could hear the questions a little bit, but I was getting some other answers going on too from the lobby. So I had my impression of those two.
I've just always felt in that doctor's office, it's always felt like it's mostly residual in there, not
I don't think that you could get intelligent answers from residual. Residual is just going to be a tape that plays over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what she's saying.
That's what I'm saying. I felt like what I was hearing was a replay. That's what it sounded like. It didn't sound like somebody answering a question.
Maybe that is true, but I know we've had intelligent response in there before.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that is interesting because I know that one of the docents, it has a recording from in that, I believe it was in that doctor's office room. They were sitting around talking and they were having a session. And they were asking questions, but in the midst of them asking questions, they got an EVP when they played it back, and it said Dr. Stringer's office.
Oh, yeah, they played that for me. That was amazing.
Did they?
Yes.
It's so clear. It's so clear. And
it sounded like a secretary answering a phone.
Right. And that would be clearly residual, right?
Right.
So
that's why I was bringing that up.
That's
I was
residual.
Yeah. And I felt like when I was hearing like the military jargon, like I was hearing 10-4 and I was hearing like all that kind of stuff, that to me felt like what I was hearing was residual. Like it was like an echo.
You heard 10-4 and then you heard 41, didn't you? Yeah. And that sounded very military.
I looked him up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know what 41 would mean in military jargon.
It's a situation report. It's asking for a situation report.
So I also, for me, it was cool because you had never done Estes before, Jen. And then after your session, you said to me that you said it's like you're listening, but you're not listening for what you're hearing. It's like in between, like a layer in between. And I have described it exactly in those words to like my husband. Like I'm trying to like explain it. And I've said it, I think, to Beth and Mom and stuff like, and it's really hard to explain, but it was really funny because I was like, that is exactly it. That is exactly the words I have said. Like you get it. You're hearing it, you know, like it's very hard to explain to somebody. Like if you're not.
It is. And when I did it and the times I've done it, the voices sound like they're coming underneath the sound. That's the way I've thought of it, underneath the
Yeah.
sound. So that's interesting that yours goes
In between.
in between the
Ye-
sound.
Yeah, like as
Interesting.
if it was like a layer of sounds in
Mhm.
the
Right.
sound sandwich.
In between frequencies. It's like there's
Yeah.
this frequency and this
Yeah.
frequency, and it's in
It's like
between.
sneaking in between.
Mhm.
For me, it's a sound topping.
How does it feel to you, Beth?
To me, sometimes it feels like it's being blurted out to me
In Estes or in spirit?
in Estes,
Yeah.
but I get that in spirit too.
Yeah, I get that. To me, in spirit, it's like that. It's
When
like
through the clairaudience, it feels almost like. And my sister, she's described it as psychic Tourette's, but
and stealing
if
that.
if I don't say the words exactly the way they want me to say them, they'll keep saying it over and over and over
Yes.
until I
So,
do.
yes, I feel that too when I'm doing Estes, but it's more like it's so hard to explain, but the feeling of feeling out which words that they're wanting me to catch. It's not like a sound thing or like a way it's communicating. It's like
it's reading comprehension voice. It's like when you're reading a book, it's the voice you hear in your head.
Right. And for
skips
me,
words.
For me, it comes through like there's intonation to it. Like I know how they want me to express it. And it's different. Like, I mean, you all know, have been with me doing it in different places, but like, it's almost like, they're, I don't know how to say it. It's not like I'm acting, but like it is.
Their personality comes through.
Yeah.
Like, you're giving their voice
and their intonation and like their vibe, right? Comes through, and it's really weird.
That was so interesting to see when you were doing the Estes session with Gary, though, because you definitely had a layer of personality on top of your responses. That was clearly his voice.
Yes.
He's like very specific and like very like hits you in the face with his personality, right? Like very charming and like goof, like that opera singing thing. I know we've talked about it before on here, but like the first time we did the Estes method there, I kept hearing it, and it was in that way where I was like, why would he want me to go, oh, and then it kept coming through, Beth, like you said, like if you don't say it, it will keep coming and keep coming. And it's like, oh, the same way. And I was like, oh God, okay, well, this is what we're doing. So like, I'm like, sorry guys, like, I don't know what's happening,
but that's like, it was the funniest thing. His sense of personality was coming through so strong, because at one point we were talking about Joan was saying what a good job he was doing of coming through and how he was being so clear and stuff. And I said, yeah, Gary, you got skills. And then immediately you said, duh.
Duh.
Like, duh.
And that was so Gary. You said that and Gary goes, duh. Like, what do you think?
Everybody knows this.
Everybody knows.
Oh my God.
I love what Les just mentioned is when he turns the flashlight on, he'll say, "Did you see that?"
And Mike said that he does it every time, and he did it.
Yeah, at one point, I think we said we haven't seen the flashlight, and he said something like, "Watch this."
Did it? I think he said like, now off or something like that, and then turn the flashlight off. Also, I mean, I came out of, you guys tapped me out, and I was like, was it anything? Because I'm like, I feel like an idiot over here being like, blah, and like, duh, like, it's very emotive. So I'm like, I don't know if this makes any sense to what they're asking. I have zero concept. I'm just like focused, and I have it so loud. And I'm just like, okay. And you guys were all like, yeah. And I was like, did any of the lights come on? And you guys were like, yes. I was like, okay, cool. That's great.
Yeah. He was
Yeah.
like, we're having a party.
Yeah.
It sounds like working with your narrator on an audiobook. For example, no, it needs to sound more like this. Does that sound about right, Jess?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And the tone wasn't always the same. And I think that's one of the things
No.
that was so interesting, because at one point I asked, because we had gotten to where we had determined that he had done vaudeville. And I asked him, I said, did you travel around a lot when you were alive? And then immediately, Jess, you said, don't ask me that. And it was sad. I mean, it was a sad tone. It's
He
like
did
he didn't want to think about
He
it.
did not want to talk about it. It
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
don't ask.
He didn't want to think about traveling because he doesn't now, really.
He does not.
Yeah. So
Even though everybody's told him he can, he doesn't have to be stuck there. He stays there.
We're enabling him.
I know. We're now enabling him to stay there.
It's like, well, I have this steady stream of audience here. So.
and they really admire me and they enjoy me.
Captive audience.
They're coming every 6 months now.
See, for those of you that are listening, I've done the Estes method. I have never had anybody with that much personality come through.
Me either.
I remember during COVID, we were doing the Estes method here in our house because we'd been seeing things, and we got the name of a man. He gave his name and his age and the fact that he had passed away recently in Jacksonville. So we looked up the obituary, and sure enough, he had. But that's all he said. I mean, he didn't say, tell anybody, or here's a message. And I mean, there was no personality. It was just
all business.
All business. Here's my name. Here's where I'm from. I died of COVID. I'm like, okay.
And we went, I did it one time, and whoever I was talking to was wanting me to say things that were off color and things that I would not normally say. And I had to say to him, I am not repeating that. I'm not saying that.
Was that at Hill House?
At Hill House, yeah.
Yeah. He was nasty.
Nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Marjorie was watching that session. I remember because she said, why do you have a purple training bra on your face?
That's funny.
Or the blindfold, yes.
Yeah.
Marjorie is very funny. But he was not a nice person. He was trying to scare us. He was saying things like, what, you better run? And yeah.
Right. Trying to scare us and then trying to just be rude.
Yeah, be nasty. Yeah. Beth said, I'm not repeating that. I thought, whoa.
Must have been bad.
Yeah. The last time I did it was when we were investigating at South Pittsburgh Hospital.
Yeah, that was what helped him.
Oh, that was really hard. All right. Oh, Joe Conjal said, did something happen to your feed, Rob? I can't see you or hear you guys. Whoa.
No.
Marjorie, can you see us and hear us? It'll take a while for her to answer. I don't know.
I feel like we're on an investigation now. Is there anyone here who would like to communicate?
Well, Marjorie says yes. She would like to communicate, and yes, she can hear us. Paul Hollis says, see you and hear you. Good. Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
Have some internet problems.
Yeah, maybe.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Okay. Rob's just typing him an answer so that he'll know that everybody else can see and hear us. There might be something going on in his neighborhood.
Well, anything else that we want to talk about from anybody else? Have any experiences that they want to bring up from?
Kathy and I had a really small one when we were leaving the attic to go downstairs. So we were passing under the place of James's passing, and I just stopped dead in my tracks because Kathy was the last one out.
Oh yes.
And I said, and Jesse, you may have been standing there. I said, do you smell water?
At the top of the stairs. Yes.
I was there
like,
too.
Yeah, I was like, I smell lake water. Lake water. It's specific, and it's a very specific smell. And Kathy smelled it also. And I said, why do I smell lake water? Like right here. And it wasn't rainwater. It wasn't like smelling the rain like Floridians do. It was nothing like that. It was definitely the smell of lake water or pond water. And they had redecorated since I had been there. So I didn't really register. I'd seen that picture of Elvis, but that was like the only thing that I
oh yeah.
And then I turned around and Kathy said, look at that. And there was a whole display right under the skylight there from Weeki Wachee.
Oh yeah.
There's this big Weeki Wachee display, which I don't know why there was a Weeki Wachee display, by the way, in May Stringer house. That seemed random, but I hadn't consciously noticed it walking in because I was looking at the indigenous artifacts when I was walking in. And I always, when I walk past that area, I'm always thinking about James. But in any case, I just, as I was coming out, I mean, just, it just hit me like, right. And then as soon as I recognized the smell and Kathy said, yeah, I smell it. And we saw the case, it went away. It was gone instantly. Very strange. I don't know what that.
Just notice me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So, something must have been riding along there. I don't know, but it was odd.
Yeah.
It was the ghost of a fish.
We got
mermaid.
We got James with an SLS camera one time when we were there. Yeah. We didn't bring the SLS camera this time, but yeah, we've seen him on SLS camera.
I heard him on the Spirit Box when I was there in September. And, he was on the stairs, basically. That's where I had heard from him before. So that was kind of interesting.
That is cool.
I think a lot of times when we're in the attic that he is hanging out outside of the attic door listening to us. And
he even said that's where he was. Like he came through for like a half a second in that flashlight session, and sadly I wasn't recording at that moment. Steve might have caught it though, where James said he was outside.
Okay.
So
yeah, I've got a lot of footage to go through still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the tedious part.
Yes.
Because it takes just as long to watch it unless you speed it up, and then you might miss something. Yeah. So you got to speed it up a little bit and then just keep your eyes glued. But it's easy to miss stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many things happen that we just don't understand, like the cat ball not going on all the way, Yeah,
that was very strange.
And the way they turn the flashlight on and off. Frank wasn't doing it the way everybody else does it, though. He was right on it, but usually when it turns off, it goes off very, very gradually, and he would just turn it off.
A couple of times it was slow, but yeah, I think it was. I mean, it was just like a regular person, a physical person's hand almost. Like it was so.
It was very strong.
Yeah, but usually it like flickers off slowly but surely.
It takes a few seconds for it to go off.
You can't do that with your own fingers. You can't do that. So I found that interesting. Different.
Hey, girl.
All right. Well, anybody else have anything they want to share?
I just really you letting me tag along, and Steve, I appreciate you kind of introducing me to Rob and Joan, and it was definitely fun. I look forward to doing more investigations in the future now that I have an idea of what they should look like. I'm not going to get my hopes up that they're ever going to be like that again, because that was insane. But
That's cool. It's really
Well,
fun.
it was great having you.
Yeah, it was. It was really great.
Well, and I want to thank the team for having me back and for allowing me to get along.
It was fun to have you both.
Yeah. We'll let you know
It's
when
nice
we're
to
going
meet you.
Virtually.
When you came last November, Steve, I know that what impressed me was that you and your wife both said that it was so different than what you expected, and that you could feel the difference in room to room, that you could feel the difference in the spirit that was there. So
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
There was one experience that we had. My wife, she was getting very tired late. It was probably about 11 o'clock, 11:30. She was getting tired. Her back was bothering her. We were downstairs, and you guys were all upstairs, and you were in the room. I don't remember the room name, but it's got all the dresses.
Yes.
But there was my wife told me, my back's bothering me. I really need to go home. And I'm like, I can't leave until I say goodbye. So we went upstairs to join you guys. And when we walked in, I believe it was Jesse doing the Estes method, or I'm not sure who it was. But
Might have
when
been.
we were in the room, she blurted out, "Get her home."
It might have been Beth.
It was
Maybe.
it was Beth. It was Beth doing the Estes method, and she said, "Get her home."
Yeah. And again, it's the first thing you said was, "Get her home." Like,
Interesting.
And I was
She's like, did you not hear the
woman? Gary was all upset. She's doesn't feel well. Get her home.
That's so wild. That's cool.
It is
It's a really cool place.
Yes, I recommend that to anybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. You can go on ghost tours there, like Jen did before, and that was fun for you, wasn't it?
It was. I had one of my podcast co-hosts was visiting because she had a conference nearby, so she came down and we booked it on Friday the 13th in September, just kind of for fun, and we took some footage which we'll send out on our channel at a later time, because we've got some recording to do on that yet, some voiceovers and whatever. But yeah, we had a really good time. She felt the cat.
Oh, cool.
So Betsy felt the cat rubbing on her legs. The kids, she had candy in her pocket. She'd forgotten about it. And the kids asked her about candy. So I don't know if it was Jesse or one of the other ones, but we did not feel welcome in the attic when we were there. It was a completely different vibe when I was there with you guys. And again, maybe because you were familiar to Gary and that's kind of his territory up there. But we had interactions with James that were very nice. And then I've told you guys the story about Bob, the ghost that nobody else has heard about there. But it turns out that his gravestone is there, even though his body's not.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, it was his. We came across him in the military room in a spirit box situation, and that in combined with an EMF, and we just kept getting these sort of little comments from him, and then the docents had never heard of a Bob. Nobody had ever heard of a Bob. And then when we were reviewing the photographs that we had taken for B-roll later, we found that Robert's gravestone was immediately on the other side of the wall of where we picked up Bob in the military room. And he was Army, and we had talked to him about that, and he had told us he was Army. We got all that on, we recorded it all, and that'll be part of the footage that we share later. But it was crazy. And of course, all the gravestones that are there on site, there are no bodies to go with them. All of those gravestones were stolen and sold in a pawn shop, and then I guess the museum sued the court to make them give it up. And so that's why they have them, and Bob's not happy about that.
Yeah.
So how long does the ghost tour last?
2 hours. Well, it's 1 hour for the actual tour, where they kind of walk you through the house and tell you about the history of the house, and tell you about the hauntings that are documented and that sort of thing. And then for an hour, they kind of turn you loose and let you go around. And if you've brought your own equipment, you can do that. And at that time, all I had brought was an EMF. But the docents had a spirit box that they let us borrow, which was cool. And I saw there were another group of people there that had dowsing rods, which I've never used, but as I understand it, they are pretty well successful there. But yeah, so Betsy and I had a really, really good experience there, and so we're looking forward to putting Bob's story out, because we promised him we would. He did do a little beep on the EMF meter when we first got there, and I think Kathy was with me, but it might have been you, Beth. Was it you that was? Yeah, it was you. Okay, because I knew I had talked about Kathy, but I was standing there and I said, hey, Bob, if you're here, just wanted to say hi. And the EMF meter just lit up with a little hello. So we got a little flyby from Bob while we were
flyby.
Yeah.
He's just like, just passing through.
Yeah. Just an acknowledgement.
I just wondered, because we've never done the ghost tour, and we've never toured the house because we're sensitives and we like to go in cold. But I wondered what that was like, but that sounds like a pretty fun thing for people to do.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And it was, I'd definitely recommend it. It started at 10, I think, or no, it was either 8 to 10 or 10 to 12. I want to say, I think maybe it was 8 to 10. But it was dark out even in summer, which is why, oh no, it wasn't dark when we got there. So I think it must've been 8 to 10. But I think I really enjoyed knowing the history of the house, like when it was built and all that kind of stuff. And, Betsy had avoided learning anything about the house in advance so that she was kind of going in with no anything. So I was there for kind of validation.
Cool.
Well, I think I know why Wikiwachi is in there. It's the Maystringer house, but it is the home of the Hernando Heritage Museums with Hernando County. So it's going to bring in all sorts of features from Hernando County. But once again,
that makes sense.
In Brooksville, Florida, on Museum Court. So if you get a chance to go there, if you're in the Tampa Bay area, we highly recommend it.
Definitely.
One other thing happened. The first time, before I'd gone there, I had done a remote viewing, and I had seen what the house looked like and what the colors were and stuff like that. And I saw the porch, and then I saw the body of a young man lying on the porch in front of the screen door. I remember, and I'd asked them about that, and they said, "Oh, we don't know. No, we don't know. Don't know about that." And so then I was talking to them afterwards, and I said, I saw that, and nobody knows. When I talked to whatever docents were here, they said they'd never heard of it or never seen it. And Jen said to me, not this Jen, but Jen, the docent.
Yeah. The other Jen.
The other Jen. There are a lot of Jessies and Jens there that
coming out our ears.
Yeah.
And Jen said to me, "Oh, but can you tell me exactly where you saw it and stuff?" And the other docent said, "Yeah, where did you?" And I said, "Yeah, right here." And she said, what color was he? And I said, what color was he? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, he was black. And but it just took me back because I was like, okay.
What difference does that make? You
Yeah.
get that back.
Yeah. I was like, alrighty. And they told me that what I had seen was one of the murders of.
It was the last drive-by shooting by carriage.
Yes, by carriage.
They named him by name too.
Ride by.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, they named him by name. As soon as you described him, they're like, oh, that was, and I can't remember his name now, but
I can't either.
But so that was actually a real thing. And because that has bothered me all along, all the times I've been there, because I've been, I could see him, I could feel him. And imagine, they did say it was the last drive-by shooting by carriage. So weird. The last drive-by shooting by carriage. All the other drive-bys have been in cars, but this one was the last drive-by.
What a dubious distinction.
I know. Poor young man, but he was a young man. But so that I'm glad that got validated because it hadn't been before. And I'm like, and I'm glad that I mentioned it to them and that they happen to know.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, oh, that was weird that I would see that and it never happened, but it did happen. So
sadly, there was a lot of racial turmoil in that area.
Oh, especially that.
Yeah. That's why when they asked me that question, I was like, why do you know?
Well, somewhere on the original May property, because it was 40 acres at one point, somewhere on that property, which of course now is residential and all that, there is actually a slave graveyard somewhere, and they don't know where.
Yes, they mentioned that the one time. Yeah, they did.
But I think they mentioned that they're trying to kind of raise funds to go into that area with LiDAR and see if they can find where that was, so it can be appropriately monumented.
That would be really great.
It would be. Yeah. I think one time we went walking outside and went walking around trying to see what we could pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, that's sad. Well,
we're over an hour and a half now, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, time is marching on.
Get us going.
I think we probably ought to wind up. Anybody else have anything else they want to share?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Shadow guy.
Our next podcast will be the 4th, probably, unless we decide otherwise, the 26th of June. That'll be the fourth Thursday in June.
And I think Robbie might be on that one.
The original guest who was supposed to be on tonight. Hopefully he'll be able to come back and talk to us. Yeah.
Oh, I hope we can. I hope so too. I want to hear what he has to say. Joe Conjal says, thanks everyone for another interesting show.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for coming. Paul Hollis says, excellent show. Thanks everyone. Thank you too, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Marjorie Deering says, thanks everyone. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
Thanks,
Marjorie.
Marjorie.
Thanks for hanging in there. Well, thank you, everybody, and we will see you later.
All right.
Yeah. Later.
Thanks, Joe.
Next time. Bye.
Thank you.